Good morning, this is James B. Moore Wharton reporting to you live from Ellenwood, Georgia on Georgia's 2014 2-inch snow fiasco. Let me briefly tell you a couple of things about myself. I have been a professional driver for 32 years now. I have driven in every type of weather condition one can imagine. Treacherous thunderstorms, rain, hail, sleet, snow, you name it. Whatever the situation, I have driven in. Now, I'm sitting here this morning trying to wrap around my brain, how is it possible that 2 inches of snow can cause such devastating effects on the state of Georgia as it did in the year of 2014? If anybody would have asked me, I would have never been able to imagine in my wildest dreams that 2 inches of snow can cripple an entire state. Now, let me be clear on something. I'm not talking about the city of Atlanta. During this 2014 snow fiasco, the city of Atlanta was perfectly fine. I'm talking about outside the perimeter of Atlanta and beyond. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because during this time, a lot of finger pointing went on. And we all know that typically those who are doing the finger pointing usually point the finger in the wrong direction. They never get it right. They always point at the wrong people. And then they fail to realize that while they're pointing, they had 3 fingers pointing right back at them. So just keep that fact in mind as we travel through this presentation. Now, it's been a few months now, and I have had some time to sit back and reflect and analyze the situation and think about who is exactly responsible for Georgia's 2014 2-inch snow fiasco. And through my reflecting and studying and researching, I have been able to identify 2 precise and exact individuals who are directly responsible for the situation that occurred on the roadways of Georgia in 2014. But before I continue, let me tell you who is not responsible. The mayor of Atlanta is not responsible. The governor of Georgia is not responsible for Georgia's fiasco in 2014. Now, I know you might be saying, well, the governor is the big cheese of Georgia, the state of Georgia, and the mayor is the big cheese of Atlanta. Then if it's not their fault, then whose fault is it? Okay, before I tell you whose fault it is, listen to this. I know the governor and the mayor. I applaud them for stepping up to the plate and accepting the conviction from their public trial and taking the responsibility for their action before the Georgia 2000 snow fiasco. But it really wasn't their fault. And I'm getting ready to point out to you who exactly was responsible for Georgia's 2014 2-inch now snow fiasco. I'm still trying to wrap that around my brain. Now, the number one perpetrator of this crime is the media. And I know you might be saying, how in the world can the media be responsible? They weren't driving the people cars. Here's how. Let me show you how. The media committed what I have termed a crime of moral turpitude. How did they commit this crime of moral turpitude? They committed it through word uses. But let me tell you what a crime of moral turpitude is. A crime of moral turpitude is a crime that when committed, the average reasonable citizen, it shocks their conscience. They cannot imagine that someone would commit such a heinous crime against anybody. And this is how the media committed this crime. They used word usage. Now remember, keep in mind, I'm not trying to indoctrinate anybody here this morning. But I'm going to point out a very specific scripture, excuse me, to help me drive my point home. The Bible says that life and death lies within the tongue. You can either speak life to somebody or you can speak death. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the word usage that the media used, they spoke death to the people of Georgia. Listen to their way of the words they used to describe 2 inches of snow. 2 inches. Catastrophic. Extremely dangerous. Life-threatening. And one of my favorites is freezing snow. Now let's look at 2 of these words. Catastrophic first, and then freezing snow. Catastrophic. Catastrophic is not a word that's proper for the description of 2 inches of snow. Catastrophic is the word that will be proper for the description of Hurricane Katrina, a tsunami, the mudslide that just recently happened in the Midwest. Those words, that particular word will be appropriate for describing any one of those events of a tsunami or Hurricane Katrina or mudslide or even Vietnam War. Vietnam War was catastrophic. 2 inches of snow, catastrophic. That's not catastrophic. Now let's look at the word freezing snow. We all know that it's a process to go from freezing to frozen. The manner in which the media presented this word gave the people the impression that as soon as the freezer snow hit the ground, it was going to be frozen. Now we all know it takes time to go from freezing to frozen. It's just not going to automatically freeze. Now these words, catastrophic, life-threatening, extremely dangerous, and freezing snow, they use these words they pulverize the people. They use them from 4:30 in the morning all the way through constantly, all day long, all day long. That's all they reported. It was only one person in this country who was happy that they was reporting this 2-inch snowstorm in the manner in which they were. And that one person was Barack Obama. And why was he so happy? Because they gave him a break. The news media did not report not one story about the president during this whole entire event. Now, because they chose to present this information in this way, here's basically what they said to the people. The Martians are coming. The Martians are coming. Run, run. The Martians are coming. Now, anybody in their right frame of mind, if you tell them the Martians are coming, something that they're not familiar with, that we have been taught to be afraid of, keyword, afraid of, we're going to respond in a specific type of way. Now here is the response of the people of Georgia from the constant preaching of life-threatening and catastrophic and freezing rain. This was the response to people. They panicked. And as a result of their panic, they created complete mayhem, chaos, absolute chaos. And within that chaos, we gridlocked the interstates of Georgia. Movement stopped. Now remember, to go from freezing to frozen, a process must take place. And here's what happened. As the people sat on the roadways for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, the ground underneath of the vehicles, the freezing snow, had the opportunity to actually freeze. And it froze underneath of them. So by the time they decided in their minds that they had sat there long enough and they were going to try to actually make it home, it was too late. The snow had frozen underneath them. So they couldn't drive, couldn't go anywhere. So they were stuck. And this was a direct result of the preaching of catastrophic, life-threatening, constant, all day. They frightened the people. They scared them. But ultimately, let's turn to the second perpetrator. Ultimately, it was the people's fault. It was their fault for this fiasco. They're responsible for driving their vehicle. It's up to them to be able to safely maneuver that vehicle in any type of situation. And I have evidence of that it's their responsibility. Let's look at the issuing of a driver's license to prove this. When you go to take the driver's test for your license, there's two things that you have to do in order to get your license. You have to take a knowledge test, and then you have to take a skills test, or the road test, most people call it, but it's skills test, either word. Now, the knowledge test is specifically designed to determine if one has the intellectual ability to comprehend the signage and the laws on the roadway so that they can effectively and safely operate that vehicle within the confines of the law that issued them, of the laws of the state that issued them their driver's license. Now the second part is the skills test. This test is used to determine whether you have the ability to safely maneuver and operate that vehicle within the confines of the law of the state who issued you your license. Now here's what happened. When you happily took the pen and signed your name on that dotted line, effectively what you just did was you entered into a legal binding contract with the state that issued you your license, telling them or proving that you had the intellectual knowledge and the ability to go out there and operate that vehicle in a safe manner. So ultimately, the governor and the mayor are released from the responsibility of your inability to comply with the laws and the rules of the road and be able to deal with any situation that's placed before you. Now, before I finish, there's a few other things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the governor's task force. The governor has issued a task force with the responsibility of coming up with methods or ways to improve the way 2 inches of snow is handled. It bewilders me that there is no one on this task force from the professional driving community, the actual people who possess the most experiential knowledge into this message, into this situation. It seems to me that they would at least consult with somebody from this community to assist them with this situation. Someone who can think outside of the box of their intellectual confines in order to be able to assist them with this situation. I find that to be strange and bewildering. Another thing I would like to talk about is who in their right frame of mind within the city government decided to go out into Atlanta and dump tons and tons of salt and dirt on the roadways of Atlanta for 2 inches of snow. I have driven in regions where it snowed 24 or 48 inches of snow, and I can tell you this, I have never seen any of those states ever dump so much salt and dirt on the roadways when the dust settles, the dust really doesn't settle because there's so much dust from the salt, dirt, and snow that has been placed on there. To me, that was an absolute waste of taxpayers' money. It was useless. It wasn't effective. And it literally choked me and many other people when we drove through the city of Atlanta. I could not even drive with my sunroof open. I had to close my sunroof because the choke was so, the dust was so great, it was literally choking me. And in closing, I would like to add that the news media, specifically our meteorologist, has come up with this brilliant idea to install sensors throughout the state of Georgia that will help them to determine where it's going to snow, how much it's going to snow, and what's the conditions, so that they can inform the people of this information and help them to be able to deal with the situation. I am totally against it when it comes to the taxpayers funding this operation. Why? Because if you place those sensors in the ground or wherever they're going to place them, the one thing you cannot replace is the human element. It's the driver's responsibility for being able to maneuver that vehicle on the roadway. So, if the news media would like for those items to be placed on the roadways of Georgia to help them, then the news media should foot the bill and not the taxpayers of the state of Georgia. We need our hard-earned tax dollars to be used towards things that are going to be more useful in moving the state of Georgia forward. Let's not keep wasting money and keep putting us back and back and back and back. I want to thank you for this opportunity to present some certain information to you, and be advised, this is for the governor's office and the mayor's office. I have come up with some real valid, useful information as to how the state of Georgia can actually improve the situation that they face in 2014. But as a result of your refusal, of your office refusal to respond to my request, at this time I'm going to refrain from putting out there any information that will assist in this situation. May God bless you, and may heaven smile upon you. Thank you.